Most men stay broke, not because they lack talent, but because they were taught to play a game that was never designed to reward them. Think about it. You wake up before sunrise. You hustle harder than everyone around you. You grind until your mind is numb. You sacrifice your weekends, your sleep, even the people you care about. You do everything the world told you to do. Work hard, stay disciplined. Stay patient, and yet somehow, at the end of every month, you still feel like you're drowning. Still waiting for that breakthrough. Still wondering why wealth feels like a mirage that keeps moving farther away. The closer you get, here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud. The game you're playing was built for you to lose, while you're busy posting your routines, chasing validation and trying to be seen. There's another game happening beneath the surface. A quieter game, a silent game, and in that game, the loudest voice almost never wins. Because real power does not need attention. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to announce itself. Wealth does not move toward noise. It moves toward structure, towards silence, towards those who understand the architecture of power, not just the performance of it. The men who built dynasties understood this. They didn't spend their energy trying to look powerful. They spent their energy building systems that made power inevitable. They designed the board, they set the rules. And then they watched everyone else play inside the reality they had created. So ask yourself honestly, are you a player or are you just a piece being moved? Because if you don't know the answer, you're already losing. This is rule. No, one master the game, not the crowd. Most men never even realize they are inside a game. They think life is about being good, working hard, and staying loyal. They believe the world rewards virtue, and that belief is exactly what keeps them powerless. Because the world does not reward intention. It rewards leverage. It rewards positioning. It rewards strategy. The uncomfortable truth is simple. The world responds to power, not potential. It responds to those who understand timing, influence, and control. If you want to rise, you cannot just work harder. You have to think deeper. You have to see patterns other people miss. You have to understand how systems move people. The most powerful individuals in history were rarely the loudest. They were often the ones behind the scenes. The strategist, the advisor, the architect, the person quietly shaping reality, while everyone else was distracted by appearances. That is what true power looks like. Not noise, precision. And the reason many people never win is because they make themselves too visible. They reveal too much. They announce every move, every dream, every next step, and the moment you do that, people begin studying your weaknesses. They begin predicting your behavior. They begin preparing for your failure. Never confuse visibility with influence. The crowd does not need to validate you. In fact, the moment you start performing for applause, you start losing control. Because now, your decisions are no longer driven by strategy. They are driven by reaction. You begin chasing approval instead of outcomes. And that is one of the fastest ways to lose power. Master the mechanics. Study systems. Understand leverage. Stop broadcasting your strategy to people who are waiting to watch you fail. Now, here's the second rule. Control reality, not perception. Weak men show the same face to everyone. They call it authenticity. They call it being real. They wear every emotion on their sleeve. and then wonder why life keeps cutting them open. Here's what they don't understand. Predictability creates vulnerability. The moment people can predict your reaction, they can control your behavior. Once someone knows what triggers you, what excites you, what hurts you, they gain leverage over you. You stop being a person, you become a pattern. And patterns can be manipulated. Strong men understand something different. They do not live through a single identity. They adapt. They shift. They calibrate depending on the environment. A face for conflict. A face for peace, a face for negotiation. A face for solitude. This is not about being fake. This is about being strategic. There is a massive difference. You do not need to reveal everything you feel. You do not need to expose every fear and insecurity. Those things are not always meant for public access. Because once exposed, they become tools others can use against you. Your emotions, fears, and weaknesses are data, and in the wrong hands, data becomes a weapon. The world rewards mystery far more than openness. People respect what they cannot fully read. So build layers, reveal only what serves your objective. Concealment is not dishonesty. It is sovereignty. The third rule is one most people completely ignore. Speak less, observe more. Every unnecessary word you speak gives away information. Most people talk because silence makes them uncomfortable. They overshare, they explain too much. They justify every action. And with every sentence, they hand over more of themselves. A strong man does the opposite. He listens. He studies. He absorbs. Every conversation becomes intelligence gathering. Tone pauses. Eye movement. Word choice. Energy shifts. All of it reveals something. Think about the last difficult conversation you had. Who spoke more in most cases? The person who talked more lost. Because they revealed their position, their emotional state, their desperation, their limits. They gave away leverage without realizing it. Information is one of the most valuable currencies in life. More valuable than money, because information tells you where pressure points exist. It tells you who to trust, who to avoid, when to move, when to stay still. Yet most people give it away for free. Every time you casually reveal your business idea, every time you vent emotionally, every time you explain your full strategy, you are handing someone the blueprint to either copy you or dismantle you, so become more intentional. Ask more questions, let other people fill the silence. Let them reveal themselves. Meanwhile, you stay measured. You stay composed, and when you do speak, every sentence should serve a purpose. No filler. No emotional leakage. Just clarity and direction. Because in the game of influence, the one with the most information and the least exposure usually wins. The fourth rule is where most people quietly lose their entire life. Master your time before someone else owns it. Poor men wake up in reaction mode. Phone notifications, messages, emails, other people's emergencies before the day even begins. They are already living inside someone else's agenda. That is not productivity, that is surrender. Time is not just a resource. It is a battlefield. Every hour is either being conquered by you or stolen by someone else. There is no neutral ground. Ask yourself, what is the first thing you do every morning? If it's checking your phone, scrolling social media, or reacting to the outside world. Then you have already lost the opening battle of the day. Elite performers do not start in reaction. They start in ritual. Their mornings are protected. Those first hours belong to them. No distractions. No noise. No negotiation. Just focused work on the things that compound over time. They are building while everyone else is consuming. Every hour of your day should answer one question. Is this moving my mission forward? If not, why is it in your life? Money can be recovered, reputation can be rebuilt. Time cannot. Once spent, it never comes back. That's why powerful people treat time like a weapon. They deploy it carefully. They invest it into assets, skills, and systems that scale. While others spend hours scrolling, they spend hours building leverage. That difference compounds into entirely different lives. Audit your day ruthlessly. Cut what does not serve your mission. The moment you stop letting the world dictate your schedule, your reality begins to shift. Now, let's move into one of the most uncomfortable truths most people never want to face. Your network can either accelerate your rise or quietly destroy it. Let's be brutally honest. Not everyone around you deserves access to your energy. Some people are not in your life to elevate you. They are there to consume your time, your focus, and your momentum. You call them friends. You call it loyalty, but sometimes what you call loyalty is just emotional attachment to people who are no longer aligned with your future. Every person in your life is doing one of two things. They are either expanding your capacity or draining it. There is no middle ground. Ask yourself this about the people closest to you. Do they challenge you to grow? Do they expand your thinking? Do they open doors, bring opportunities, or sharpen your discipline? Or do they constantly bring drama, distraction, excuses, and comfort? Do they push you toward your mission? Or do they normalize mediocrity? Because the truth is, the people around you shape your standards. They shape what you believe is normal. They shape the ceiling you unconsciously accept. If the people around you are comfortable being average, eventually average starts feeling acceptable to you too. That's how ambition dies. Quietly. Not through failure, through environment. The strongest men understand this. They don't collect relationships out of guilt. They curate proximity. They protect access. They invest in people who create leverage. People with discipline. People already moving in the direction they want to go. And everyone else, they slowly fade into the background. Not through drama, not through conflict. Just distance. Quiet, intentional distance. Because pruning is power. Sometimes growth requires separation. Not because you hate people, but because your future cannot survive the weight of the wrong environment. Stop maintaining relationships purely out of history. History does not equal alignment. Ask the harder question. Is this relationship serving who I'm becoming? If not, create space. Now let's go deeper. Rule 6: Master your emotions before someone else weaponizes them. Every uncontrolled emotion is a leak in your armor. A visible crack. A pressure point, a weakness waiting to be exploited. Most people walk around emotionally exposed. You can see their frustration, their insecurity, their desperation, their fear. It's written all over their face, their voice, and their body language. And whether they realize it or not, everyone around them is reading it. Strong men do not eliminate emotion. They master its expression. That's a critical difference. This is not suppression. Suppression turns into explosion. This is transmutation. Turning emotion into fuel. Turning anger into focus. Turning fear into foresight. Turning disappointment into discipline. Weak men react. Strong men respond. Reaction is immediate. Emotional, predictable. Someone insults you, and you instantly fire back. Someone questions you, and you immediately defend yourself. Someone provokes you, and they control your state. That means they own the interaction. Response is different. Response creates space. You feel the emotion, you acknowledge it. But you decide what happens next. The emotion does not decide for you. That is real control. Think about the most powerful people you've ever met. Did they seem emotionally unstable? Did they lose composure under pressure? Did they need to prove themselves every time someone challenged them? No, they were calm. Still composed. That stillness creates power. Because it makes you difficult to read. Difficult to manipulate. Difficult to break. The moment people realize they cannot move you, emotionally, they lose leverage over you. That is one of the greatest power moves in life. To remain centered while chaos tries to provoke you. Your anger should be fuel, not fireworks. Your fear should become awareness, not paralysis. Your pain should become depth, not display. Because in a world obsessed with reactions, being unmoved is dominance. Now here's the next level. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. Every conversation has a frame. An invisible structure, a hidden assumption. A context that defines what is true, acceptable, and possible. Most people never notice it, which is exactly why they keep losing. They walk into conversations, already inside someone else's frame. Someone asks, "Why haven't you achieved more?" By now that question is already loaded. It assumes failure. It places you on defense. And the moment you begin defending yourself, you lose control. Weak men answer inside the frame. They justify. They explain. They defend. Strong men refrain. They change the reality of the conversation itself. For example, I'm exactly where I need to be. What makes you think I'm not? See what just happened. Now the burden shifts. Now they are the one explaining themselves. That is frame control, and frame control is one of the most powerful skills you can build. It's not about winning arguments. It's about defining reality. It's about making others operate inside your assumptions, inside your standards, inside your language. The strongest frame of all is indifference. The less desperate you are for approval, the more gravity you hold. People naturally move toward certainty, toward calm conviction, toward someone who doesn't need validation. The moment you stop needing to convince everyone, people begin taking your perspective more seriously. Because confidence without desperation creates authority. Stop arguing inside frames you didn't build. Define the terms, then let others adjust. Now, let's talk about something most people underestimate. Knowledge is leverage. The man who does not study power will spend his life serving someone who does. While most people are scrolling for entertainment, others are studying systems. While most people are consuming distraction, others are building intellectual weapons. This is where separation happens. The elite do not read to sound smart. They read to increase leverage. They study psychology persuasion, economics, history, strategy power dynamics. Because reality moves in patterns. Human behavior repeats. Markets repeat. Conflict repeats. Success leaves clues. And every framework you internalize becomes another lens through which you can see opportunities others miss. Knowledge compounds infinitely. Money can disappear. Connections can fade. Reputation can collapse, but what you truly understand becomes part of your operating system. That is permanent power. The problem is, most people consume information for stimulation, not transformation. They read to feel productive. They watch content to feel inspired, but they never convert it into action. Strong men weaponize knowledge. Every book becomes reconnaissance. Every idea becomes a tool. Every concept becomes leverage. They don't wait for life to teach them through pain. They study before the war begins. That's how they move faster. That's how they avoid mistakes. Others repeat for years. Even 30 minutes of focused study every day compounds massively. 1 year from now, your thinking becomes sharper. 5 years from now, your perspective becomes dangerous. 10 years from now, you begin seeing patterns long before others do. That is how power compounds. Through disciplined learning and ruthless application. Now here comes one of the most important reframes. Safety can become a prison. Most people are not stuck because they failed. They are stuck because they never truly risked anything meaningful. They spend their entire life avoiding loss, avoiding discomfort, avoiding uncertainty, and in doing so, they guarantee stagnation. Playing safe feels wise, but often it is just fear, wearing the mask of responsibility. Every major breakthrough in life comes with uncertainty. Growth requires stepping beyond the known. The rich do not take random risks. They take calculated risks. That is a massive difference. Reckless is gambling blindly. Strategic risk is preparation. Meeting courage is spending months building a business plan before making the leap. It's developing skills before transitioning careers. It's building a runway before leaving security. That is not recklessness. That is precision. If you risk nothing, you change nothing, and if nothing changes, your future simply becomes an extension of your present. The same habits, the same income, the same ceiling. Ask yourself, what structured risk am I avoiding right now? That could change everything. Because often, the most expensive thing in life is not failure. It is regret. Regret compounds. The pain of knowing you could have built more, become more, risked more. So don't confuse comfort with safety. Sometimes, comfort is the very thing keeping you trapped. Now we come to the final shift. The difference between people who look successful and people who actually build something that lasts. Most men spend their entire life chasing relevance, attention, visibility, status. They want to appear successful. They want people to see the lifestyle, the car, the clothes, the image. But here's the truth. Visibility is cheap. What's visible often dies fast. Walk through any major city. Look at the buildings, monuments, and institutions that have survived for generations. You rarely see the names of people who bought the flashiest things. You see the names of people who built systems, structures, organizations, foundations, something larger than themselves. Lifestyle is ego fuel. Legacy is architecture. The truly powerful do not flex wealth. They hide it inside systems. Inside ownership. Inside structures that continue producing long after they are gone. Because if your wealth disappears the moment you stop working, that is not wealth. That is just an expensive life. Real wealth outlives you. It becomes a machine. A business that runs without your constant presence. Assets that continue producing. Systems that keep moving in your direction. Even when you step away. That is what true power looks like. Not image infrastructure. Too many people today are obsessed with looking rich. Leasing the appearance of success, while remaining financially fragile. One bad month away from collapse. But online, it looks perfect. That illusion destroys more futures than failure ever does. Stop optimizing for appearances. Start building for permanence. Ask yourself a better question. If I disappeared for 1 year, would what I built continue to grow? If the answer is no, you are still trading time for survival. The goal is to become an institution, not just an individual. Because the consumer leaves a gap. The architect leaves a machine. Now let's talk about money. Because this is where most people completely misunderstand the game. Poor men work for money, rich men send money to work. Every rupee, every dollar. Every amount you earn is a soldier. It is either out there expanding territory, or sitting idle. There is no third option. Most people earn money and immediately exchange it for things that make them feel wealthy. Cars that lose value, clothes that fade, experiences that disappear. They trade soldiers for fireworks, a temporary flash, nothing that compounds. The elite think differently. They buy leverage, assets, ownership, cash flow, equity systems that produce more systems. Because time has a ceiling. There are only so many hours you can work. Only so much energy you can spend. Only so much of yourself you can sell. But money does not have that ceiling. Once invested correctly, it scales. It compounds. It multiplies while you sleep. That is the real game. Freedom does not come from income alone. Freedom comes from income. That no longer requires your time. That's the difference between being paid and being free. If money only comes when you show up, you are still in a cage. A better-looking cage, maybe. But still a cage. The moment your money begins producing independently, the ceiling starts disappearing. This is why building assets matters. Business ownership, investments, cash-generating systems, scalable skills, anything that keeps producing without requiring your constant presence. The goal is not money itself. The goal is freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of movement. Freedom of choice. And that only comes when your money becomes an employee instead of just a reward. Now let's bring everything together. What you've just heard is not about wealth alone. It's about sovereignty, silence, systems, leverage, emotional control, time mastery, network design, strategic risk, frame control, legacy. These are not just ideas. These are operating principles. A new way of seeing the world. Because most men are not building. They are surviving. Decorating a life instead of designing one. They chase short-term validation while neglecting long-term architecture. They want fast results without systems. They want freedom without discipline. They want power without responsibility. And life does not reward that. The world rewards design. It rewards those who build intentionally. Brick by brick, day by day, system by system, that's how real power is created. Not overnight. Through engineered repetition. Through strategic patience. Through ruthless focus on what compounds. You do not become powerful by accident. You become powerful by structure. By discipline. By clarity, by refusing to live reactively. The question is no longer whether the world is fair. That question is irrelevant. The only question that matters is this. Are you building something that outlives your effort? Because if your progress disappears, the moment you stop pushing, then you still don't own the game. The game still owns you. And now the final question. When you die, does the world return to normal? Or does it continue moving in the direction you engineered? That is the line between a consumer and a creator. Between a spectator and an architect. Between someone who lived and someone who left a machine behind. Most people leave memories. Few people leave momentum. Few people leave systems. Few people leave structures that continue shaping reality after they are gone. That should be the standard. Not just income. Not just influence. Impact that compounds beyond your presence. So stop chasing the illusion of success. Stop performing. Stop building for applause. Start building for permanence. Start building systems. Start building leverage. Start building something that no longer depends entirely on you, because power is not something you are born with. It is something you engineer. Study it, refine it. Apply it, and keep stacking the bricks until what you've built becomes impossible to shake. The consumer leaves a gap. The architect leaves a machine. The only real question is, which one are you going to be?